Now, as a guy who reads the Bible every day, I'm very excited to see all you have Bibles, okay? So this is an exciting moment. The passage has already been read, so let's just jump right in. The feeding of the 5,000. It's Kids Sunday, and I got to admit, I just love our children, okay? I love them processing as I tell them a joke that they don't get. Their little souls as they get developed, hearing about the Word of God. Their life path being shaped by parents who embrace a relationship with Jesus Christ and try to pass that relationship on to their children. You know, I did some sociological research about kids today, and, well, let me just say it was a little disheartening. You know, we got a lot of different issues out here, a lot of ideologies and identity issues. We got all kinds of stuff. And really, just think about their phone. This is the first generation that has grown up completely with phones and screens in their face. What this means is they process information 5 times faster than we do, okay? So we got a bunch of little smarties growing up. But experts have noticed also that you know, the phone has hindered their ability to think for themselves as they're just given a tremendous amount of data, and so they just take the data and they don't have the exercise of trying to figure out, okay, what does this mean? I mean, you got to admit, it's tough to be a kid. One kid was telling his friend, you know, it's awkward. You know, our parents raised us to walk and talk, and then they tell us to sit down and shut up, okay? And the good news is all kids are born with the same physical, emotional, and spiritual needs as every human being on earth, okay? And this is where you and I, the church, become essential because we're the only institution addressing their souls, the part of them that is made in the image of God. And this leads us to our story where it's a child that makes Jesus' miracle happen, okay? It's the only miracle recorded in all 4 of the Gospels when Jesus feeds the 5,000 men, which if there's 5,000 men, experts are saying, well, that must mean there's got to be 15, maybe 20,000 people there because, you know, women and children would be a lot of folks. And let me give you a context. John the Baptist just got murdered. And so Jesus takes his disciples. He wants to bring them to a place of rest. And as they're out on a boat seeking a place to land, the crowd followed Jesus along the coastline. And when he arrived, there they were. Everybody in his presence, excited to see him. Everybody wanting to have a touch of Jesus Christ. Now, they were following because of the miracles that he did. And it's kind of neat because when Jesus sees them, he doesn't get annoyed. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to get a time of rest. He has compassion. He loves them. They're the reason why he came to earth. Now, everybody, while they were trying to find Jesus in the mad rush to spot him, they didn't bring food. And so Jesus, after a day of ministry, he realizes everybody's hungry. And so he goes, everybody's hungry. And the disciples say, well, send them away so that they can go buy food for themselves. And I want to stop right here. Send them away so they can take care of themselves. Sadly, this is the way we too often handle the people around us. Okay? People are hungry for what only Jesus can bring. You and I know Jesus, and yet we're not sharing our faith. We're letting them figure it out for themselves. We're not helping them, you know, to find the Lord. We just say, hey, if you can handle it, take care of yourself. We're not helping them figure out how to navigate this chaotic world. Once again, good luck with that. And here's the crowd. They're looking for someone who can give meaning to their lives. And don't all of us need that? I mean, on the outside, we seem like we're together, but on the inside, we got a lot of issues going on. Okay, we got problems, we got bullies, we got fears, we got money issues and health scares and relational rifts and other people's problems thrust upon us, our own messes that we make. And here's the deal, okay? We're all hungry for what only Jesus can do, because Jesus is the only answer to the crisis of our souls. You know, the Lord asked Philip, you feed these people. And it's kind of interesting. He said this to Philip to test him, because Jesus already has a plan. And again, I want you to hear this. There's nothing in your life going on right now that Jesus doesn't know about. There's no crisis, no problem, no obstacle, no difficulty, no setback that he doesn't know about and have a plan to solve your problems. I need you to hear this. He knows, and he's got a plan. So, the story kind of reminds us we can trust Jesus in every impossible situation. And it's the impossible situations where we usually fall apart. But I want to point out something. Every miracle began with a problem. There was a storm when Jesus stilled the sea. They had no wine when he turned the water into wine. All of a sudden, lame people started walking, and dumb people started talking, and blind people started seeing, and deaf people started hearing. Demon-possessed people were freed. The dead were raised. All these problems, Jesus brought a solution. And so this should change our attitude towards our problems, okay? You see, problems are an opportunity for you and I to go face to face with God and realize, I can't do it without you, and then watch him step in to our lives. And how shocked the disciples must have been when they heard Jesus respond, you give them something to eat. I mean, why is their problem my problem? Well, that's Christianity. When you see somebody with the problem, we ask God to move through us to help fix their problem. And Philip, he approaches the problem seeking a human solution. Well, I mean, 200 denarii, which is 8 months' salary, wouldn't be enough to buy bread to give everybody just a little. Okay? So he processes the problem through human resources. But he didn't calculate the problem with faith. He fails the test. And in fact, Philip is saying, I know at Cana you turned the water into wine, and I know he healed the nobleman's son, and I know you let the paralyzed guy, walk again. But this problem, I don't know how you're going to solve it. And we do that. We've seen God move in other people's lives, but we think he can't move in ours. Or we've seen him move in our own lives, and then we forget, oh yeah, okay, he did it once, he'll show up again. It's Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. Simon Peter's the man, and he kind of is the insignificant brother. He's the one who has the eyes to see another insignificant person, a child who brought a lunch. Okay? And I like this passage in Job 8:7. Do not despise small beginnings, because though it's small at the beginning, it ends with great increase. Okay? And I just think this applies to our children. Like what Paul said to Timothy, don't let anybody despise your youth, all right? Well, we're not told the name of the boy, but he has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish. And loaves are not the kind you and I get from the grocery store, okay? These are more like dinner rolls, real small things. And the fact that they're barley grain means that this child has the cheapest grain. He comes from a poor family. Now, where did his lunch come from? I'm imagining his mom packed it. Says, what are you going to do today? Well, I want to go out where all that crowd is and see that religious guy. Okay, let me give you a lunch. I mean, you know how it works. Hey, Mom, my friend wants me to go to church. And they say, okay, go ahead. Gives me a couple hours of free time, all right? And off they go to have an encounter with God. And you think, well, what kind of parent would let the little boy wander off into this huge crowd? Well, I don't know what your upbringing was like, but growing up in Los Angeles, we would get on the bicycles and ride through about 6 cities to get to Santa Monica Beach, going through Hollywood and all the crazy places. Or we'd decide to go to the other beach, in Huntington Beach, and that was an even longer ride. We'd be gone for 6, 8, 10 hours. Or you'd get in the back of a car of somebody that you don't know to go to some place that you don't know where it is, and you'd be there forever. I mean, it's a lot different in this society that has cell phones and helicopter parents, okay? See, he was old school like I was. And I'm sure this little guy maneuvered to the front of the crowd. You know how they do it. You know, they just kind of crawl between your legs, slip in between you. The next thing you know, there he is. Jesus is preaching, and Jesus is teaching, and Jesus is probably healing people. And he's watching the living God on display in front of him, and he's just in awe. And that's when Andrew goes, hey, you got a lunch? Can we give this to Jesus? And I would imagine that Jesus stooped down and he put his hand on that child. And he said, can I use your lunch to feed all these people? And it must have been the most incredible interaction. You know, I was reading about Marilyn Monroe. She was about 7 years old, and the interviewer knew her story, that she had gone from foster home to foster home, and he asked, did you ever feel loved? And she says, yeah, one time I was about 7 years old, and the lady of the house was putting on makeup, and she was in a good mood, and, you know, I was standing there watching her, and she smiled and put a little blush on my cheeks, and then finished off her own makeup. And at that moment, when she touched me, I felt loved. And you're like, wow. Some random, insignificant moment was the only time she felt loved. I mean, our children need to be told, need to be shown, need to be embraced with the love of Jesus coming through you and me. Okay? I mean, this has just got to be passed on. Well, I'm sure Jesus' touch radiated because Jesus loved the children. One time it says Jesus was in a rage of anger. Why? Because the disciples were shooing the children off. Do not hinder the children from coming to me. And he puts his arms around them and blesses them. In fact, it gets even worse. Jesus says, whoever receives a little child in my name receives me. Whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better if a millstone were hung around their neck and they were thrown into the depth of the sea. This is how precious our children are to Jesus. And I feel bad for the human traffickers and the people abusing children in our society today, because Jesus has a serious warning about anybody who messes with his precious cargo. And I want you to notice something beautiful about this passage. The little guy has something to offer Jesus. Okay? We sometimes think, oh, their kids are for the future. No. These kids are amazing. I remember both of my kids, I would ask their advice when they were little, and they would have the deepest insights. Or they would go to Sunday school and come back and teach me, the pastor, about what the verses meant. Okay? There's a complexity of their soul. It's kind of fun. You know, the kids will go to preschool, and they'll come back, and it's time for dinner, and they'll say, okay, we're going to pray. And the families don't pray. They just sent the kid to the preschool. Well, this preschool, they pray over food, and suddenly there's an atmosphere change. Or Denny's teaching all the little ones to show mercy. Have you guys been showing mercy? I like it, okay? They get a sticker if they show mercy. So they take the message and they go off to school, and they'll find a child who doesn't have a friend or somebody who got hurt, and they're taking what they're learning in Denny's class and putting it into motion in school and in their lives. It's really beautiful. You know, this one little girl, she answered the phone and it was the wrong number. But it's just a little girl. She goes, well, hello, is so-and-so there? No, but who are you? Well, my name is this. Well, where are you from? Where are you going? And the next thing you know, she had such a delightful disposition that the lady just wanted to bless the child. And she said, well, I'm coming to this town. That's my town. If you're coming to my town, you should come to my church. Oh my, we have the most wonderful church. And started telling the wrong number all about Jesus and her church. And so the lady was so moved. She goes, well, you know what? Maybe I'll try to make it. If I do, what will you be wearing? So guess what? Her Sunday opens up. She decides to go. And that was the morning that the Lord moved and touched her soul and brought that lady into a relationship with Him. Because of that child's invitation to church, this woman's soul was now going to live forever in heaven. And I just want you to know, there's power in our children. And there's a spiritual power as we raise them to know Jesus. What may seem very small, like 5 little barley loaves and 2 sardine fish, is a lot in the hands of God. And I feel bad for the disciples. How many miracles have they seen? They have a new problem, and they immediately start, backing off. Well, take care of your own problem. We can't do this. They miss the fact that Jesus always handles whatever situation they're in. They forgot that He's the creator of the universe who calls into existence that which did not exist before, like food. And I just want you to know, we need to be training our children. This one father was walking with his son, and the son says, Dad, do you know why the sky is blue? Because, no, son, I just don't know. I've always wondered much. Well, do you know how the thunder and lightning works? Because, no, I can't say that I do. Well, do you know how electricity moves from this pole to that pole through the wires? I don't know. He goes, Dad, I hope you don't mind me asking these questions. He goes, well, son, if you don't ask questions, you're not going to learn anything, okay? I want to make sure they're learning something that we know, and that's about how much God loves them, how much God is available to them, how when you call out, He answers our prayers. You just need to know this. He's a real God who really loves you, and you belong to Him forever. I want our kids to know Jesus provides. In Luke 1:37 it says, with God, nothing is impossible. Remember, He feeds the 5,000. He calmed the storm. He walks on water. He heals the sick. He raises the dead. Last Monday, get a call from Colombia. Pastor, you're not going to believe what happened to me. What happened? I died, and I was dead for this many hours. I'm not going to tell you how many hours it was because you would just go, no, that's not possible. It was a long time. I go, well, what was going on when you were dead? I was in this state of peacefulness, peaceful rest. She goes, and you should have seen the doctors' faces when I rose. And you're going, wow, Pastor, that's crazy. And I'm like, well, if you knew this person, yeah. She lives with Jesus. She talks to Jesus all the time. When she prays, you kind of have to tighten your belt because Jesus is about to be released in you. The reason she was in Colombia is because she's bringing people to Jesus, and she was there to find a church where she could direct people to. So for me, it's not hard to believe this radical miracle. And how funny, last Sunday I was talking about radical miracles in our lives, and then Monday I get the phone call. Once again, with God, nothing is impossible. And last week, I invited you to believe. And I wanted you to believe so that your faith would be strengthened. But you want to know what else? I'm asking you to believe so that somebody else's faith will be strengthened. How about the faith of our children? Wouldn't it be cool that they saw what was happening in our lives and they just decided, I'm going to follow in my parents' footsteps, in my Sunday school director's footsteps, in my church's footsteps. Patrick Henry, he was one of the great American patriots. In 1775, he's the one who said, give me liberty or give me death. He had rather a distinguished career. He was the commander of Virginia's army. He helped establish the Bill of Rights in our Constitution. He was Virginia's governor 4 different times. And listen to the closing words from his last will and testament. I now have given everything I own to my children. there is one thing more I wish I could give them. That is Jesus Christ. Because if they have everything I gave them and don't have Christ, they have nothing. Friends, the only thing, the most important thing that we can give is our relationship with Jesus Christ.